First, the Christmas parade Saturday went off without a hitch. Certainly, we always focus on safety first, and very appreciative in these situations to have our emergency manager, Rob Hess, working out of our fire department, dedicated to that, running point on this and all the parades in the future. Did a fantastic job. 100 floats, families, volunteers, and no major incidents at all. Just your typical, small types of calls for service, but nothing that impeded the safety or experience of the folks enjoying it. So that's obviously very good news. I am meeting with the Children's Trust attorney and with Lindsay on Thursday, along with our attorney, to talk through kind of what's next for what their expectations are, and certainly what our expectations are as it pertains to the tax exemption and CRA. So more to come on that. As far as the Baptist campus itself, obviously we're moving forward with demolition, as I mentioned last week, and certainly ensuring that all environmental abatement is conducted safely, responsibly, and in full compliance with regulatory requirements. I'll add that not only are all these things federal law, state law, or otherwise in terms of environmental remediation, we've gone the added step of which we certainly are not obligated to do, but for that level of care and level of quality expectation of this project, if you guys recall, we've hired an owner's rep to represent the city that's an expert in the field that will be out there every day, and is already working hand in hand with our contractor to make sure not only the most important, the environmental safety things are being done at our level of expectation, but also even just in some of the communication stuff. So I know that there's already been conversations between our owner's rep and the contractor from things like door hang notifications, just discussions on how we want to make sure that things are getting communicated. I'll give you a couple of the updates that we know logistically with the demolition. Residents may see the staging of equipment starting in late this month, early January. So you might start seeing some equipment out there. A perimeter fence will be installed after the new year, so that will not be before the holidays, but after the new year, that fence will go up. And the initial demolition that will start taking place will actually be happening inside the building. So there won't be when someone, I guess, imagines demolition thinking about the exterior or the buildings coming down. Excuse me. It will start with interior demolition, and of course we'll provide clear and advance notice if any types of timeline shift, and again our project rep is in contact with them to make sure information is conveyed. I guess that segues to the rest of the campus. Obviously we're aware and have been in terms of the permit application from the private property owner for tree removal. For Pace's Foundation. First and foremost, obviously that the application is under compliance with all city ordinances. The applicant followed the normal process that any private property owner is required to follow, and there was no compromise to that. And so first and foremost, to eliminate confusion, I know I've already seen one erroneous headline saying the city is cutting down trees. Let me make a clear distinction. The property that's in discussion right now is private property that is owned by Pace's Foundation, and the city has not owned nor has ever owned that property. That was conveyed from Baptist Hospital to Pace's, and there has been and will be 0 tree removals happening on the city-owned portion in this surrounding area. And I know folks may not see the exact lot lines and everything like that, but everything in and around Kuprian, the Kuprian house and all of that. I believe even back to its first study a few years ago when Baptist owned the property, there was lots of conversation about that being a western gate or some type of park property. And certainly, I think a lot of it's because of the tree canopy, and tree canopy is what certainly makes our city great, that we all love to have. I'm certainly a huge proponent of that. I can guarantee you we are net positive trees in the hundreds since I've been here versus the negative. And so, I support the passion around wanting to preserve trees, but we also have the number one issue on our strategic plan from our city residents is affordable housing. So just a couple important details to understand. The request of removal by the property owner was 68 trees, 12 heritage trees, all within the development footprint. And I think another distinction getting confused is these are not removals that are taking place on that what would be in park property or what would be in a grass area. All of those, and I'll give you the retention numbers in a second. Where they could be retained from a development standpoint, they were retained by the private property owner, and that is part of the process and the conversation with the arborist, which goes back, I believe, to May. And so part of that back and forth is, our arborists certainly wanting to protect as much tree canopy as possible, working with a private property owner who has the legal right to do many things that we necessarily can't stop, but will you work together with us? And certainly every indication that we received throughout that months long process is that that did take place and that it was collaborative. So again, 68 trees removed, or 68 total, 12 heritage trees, 53 are retained on these private properties, including 16 heritage trees. So there's 28 total, 16 of the heritage trees are retained on the private property. And again, I will reiterate that there's no conversation about city property or the city taking action on cutting down trees. None of that is taking place. And all the fees paid to the tree trust fund, I believe, is $10,000, or the replacement of trees that is required by the ordinance have all taken or have been agreed to. Obviously, they have not replanted trees yet. They will do that through the construction process. But there is a total of 98 trees that will be replaced. So 68 that will be removed, 98 will be replaced as per the permit. So the tree trust fund payment plus the replanting plan have been approved. So the developer followed all rules, paid all the fees, and certainly worked with us to try to strike that balance. And to be perfectly clear, there is no scenario of which the city has the subjective purview to tell someone on their private property that they just can't knock a tree down. This is why the process is what it is. Second, I'll tell you the ordinance that's in place now, the administration has requested 0 changes to this ordinance. So as long as that I've been in this job. So any conversations or any critiques of the ordinance, the fees, all of those types of things would have to be deferred to council members who have been on council since it changed or previous council members that put this in place. But this is what we are describing to you is not a mayor's administrative policy. This is a city ordinance led by and administered by the city council. So any questions or speculation about should something change or not change, I'm probably not going to have a very robust answer for you at this point because this is what has been in place, and certainly that would have to be a conversation that would take place with council. And then lastly, I'm sure you guys will have questions, any specific questions as to the spirit of the development. As you can imagine, I'm not here as the PR representative for the developer, and certainly would encourage that you reach out to them. If it's anything too specific as to, I'm not going to speculate as to their intent or the spirit of what they want to do or not do. All I can speak to, and we'll attempt to speak to any of your questions as it pertains to the city's relationship in this transaction, which is merely as the receiver of the application and the issuer of the permit. Let's see. Lastly, the Belvedere Park tree incident. We are still reviewing that, and once our internal process is complete, we'll have an official enforcement action. And as I mentioned last week, I would get that to you. So that is everything I've got. Oh, well, sorry, one more thing. We expect to have a deliverable on the report for the Bay Center that we had mentioned to the county commissioners. We expect to have it in hand early to mid-February. So that I promised you an update on that timeline last week, and that is where we are. So that's everything I got. I'm happy to take your questions. Okay. Mhm. Well, Well, I'm not going to get. I'm certainly not going to get in the business of telling people who to protest. I think, but what I'll tell you, just to be perfectly clear, um, the developer went through, per the ordinance of the city, went through every process that they're required to. Our arborist had every conversation with them. We have confirmed that every one of those 53 trees is either in the footprint of the building or in the access road. There's no subjective choosing to knock trees down, as proven by the fact that they're saving more heritage trees actually than they're cutting down. I'm not sure where to tell folks to direct their frustration. What I can tell you philosophically and what I can tell you with data is we are a supporter of the tree canopy. I always have been previous to this job as well. And so I understand the passion around that people want they want trees and they want the shade and all of those things that I've stood on this dais and argued for, that what it does for sidewalks, what it does for lowering temperatures. So we understand that, but I can tell you there's no question I get in this job more often than what are we going to do about affordable housing? So unfortunately, on every project, we can't have it all. We can't try to solve an affordable housing crisis and save every single tree that's there. And again, it's on private property. So what I can tell you is there is no subjective decision being made by the city here on private property that would allow, under the current ordinance, allow us, or really maybe perhaps under state law, you'd have to review, but that would allow us to tell someone on private property they absolutely cannot knock down any trees on the property. That is not something that could take place. So I guess they would have to digest that information and then decide where their frustrations lie.
Mayor, on the demolition, what's the communication plan for the neighborhood? All are communicating with the contractor, but you're hearing the neighborhood concerns about not really knowing, concerned about the safety of the demolition. Is there a plan to communicate with them?
Yeah, yes, we do. We can get you as much details as possible. Again, that's Cliff's top job right now is to on just our side, on top of the owner's rep, that we have software ability to do that and to be able to geofence geographically, electronically. We were already having conversations last week about folks that may not get email needing to get something physical on their doorsteps and all of that. So
That's
yes,
going to be a priority.
of course, yep. Mhm. Discussion, sorry, and pertain to what? Yeah, well, what I can tell you, and this goes for any evaluation from the city arborist for a request of a removal on private property, is there is a conversation, there's a look at what the actual plans are. There's a conversation and a back and forth about what about this, what about that, did we consider this, did we consider that? And some private property owners can say, no, and I don't plan to, and this is what I want to do, and tell me what the fine is or tell me what the fee is. Some can say, yeah, hey, let us work with you. Remember, it goes back to understanding the fundamental misunderstanding, I think, right now, which is that the city can dictate to a private property owner which trees go and which trees stay. That is absolutely not the case. And so we do the best we can within that understanding to try to have private property owners work with us. So that process is no different on this project as it is on any other project that happens in the city. So, as far as that goes, yes, they were certainly open and amicable. Again, illustrated by facts. The facts are that there's more heritage trees staying than leaving. If it was about just clear cutting the property, then there'd be 28 heritage trees down instead of 12. So I think that shows that certainly this developer was willing to work with the city. And again, that's just part of the normal conversation that happens back and forth when somebody has a tree permit or when they apply for a tree permit.
Mayor, the tree ordinance, I guess the city council did a rewrite of it years before you elected, strengthened it. How well do you think it's working?
Well, I mean, I guess in 3 years, this is, probably the first, significant front-facing issue of removal that I've experienced. So I can only look at it through that. This is the council's set of ordinances. And as you mentioned, we certainly didn't come in and request there be any changes or anything like that, nor has there been a call by our staff internally, and that happens sometimes, right? If you guys see us bring forward an ordinance administratively, we could have an issue as it pertains to enforcement, or maybe an idea of how to make something more modern, or so yes, this administration will recommend or suggest things to the council. Clearly, we haven't done that, but we haven't. No issue has gotten to me that we felt the need to do that. Again, I think this is obviously it's going to be a divisive issue. No, I don't think anybody, and I would never sit up here to say that is losing tree canopy is preferable. I don't think losing tree canopy is preferable anywhere in the city, around the Baptist campus, anywhere. It's why projects like Palafox are plus 51 in trees. Well, I think again we're plus hundreds in trees when you total everything together. So I'm right there philosophically, but on private property where it's in the footprint of the building, what have we all been clamoring for? What am I asked about constantly? I'm asked about when are we going to have affordability? There's 200 units of 100% affordable, of a 100% affordable nature, both for senior and for family. So there's going to be a give and take, which probably personifies my job pretty well overall, but there's going to be a give and take with everything. And if this piece of private property, its highest and best use is, according to the private property owner, is going to be affordable housing. I can't disagree. So sometimes there's going to be some, collateral issues with that, unfortunately. Doesn't mean that that's what we support all over the city, or that we're against the tree canopy. But again, we're not going to be able to get everything we want on every single project, and that's where we are now. And I'm certainly looking forward to having 200 units of strictly affordable units coming to our city, which I think a lot of folks have been hoping for as well.
I know you touched on the situation with
the only update I'd probably give is we are going that direction. We just haven't worked out logistically. Again, we're treating it just like any other incident. We have to assess whether the tree is heritage or protected. There's other parts that would determine what that number might be. And so even the same way if we would levy a fine with anyone in the city for doing something like that, we would want to make sure we've got all the facts and that we're assessing it correctly, and that we're assessing some proposed fine correctly, right? That it's the right number. So we are in that process right now. So I could probably just elaborate to the point that we would expect some fine requests coming. What that exact dollar amount is and all that, we'll have to just get back with you.
Mayor, on the meeting with the Children's Trust, last time we had that discussion in the press conference, the intent was the city to use its share for child care. Where is that addition?
Yeah, that has not changed. And certainly I've probably got more questions than answers for my meeting on Thursday. I feel, and I'd be surprised if anybody disagreed, that we've tried to only be collaborative in working with the trust, and that and I believe still do to this day, have the aligned goal that we want these dollars deployed not for random infrastructure or things like that, but for the same general purpose. So I'm looking forward to speaking with them and digging deeper on any misunderstanding of that, number one, and number two, that I still firmly believe we can land exactly where we want to be, which is that we deploy these dollars in a way that helps childcare access. It hasn't slowed down the process at Alice Williams right now. We're certainly not waiting on a dollar from trust to try to start moving some of these things forward. And Teresa's here to work through all of that. But again, I don't want to speculate. I'm looking forward to hearing from them directly outside of the email.
What's the initiative look like?
Well, I can have Teresa give you a full breakdown, but what I can tell you is it's number one focus that we feel like we can attack now is being able to provide venues, to be able to provide facilities and help subsidize those facilities. Not just Alice Williams will be the start of that, but again, we have HUD CDBG commercial revitalization dollars in both Brownsville and around the Baptist campus. Those are things that we're thinking about. And or other properties that we may have, existing properties that we may have, about what those best kind of first 2-3 locations would be where we would be able to. I know the RFP is out. I would have to get you exact timelines. RFP is out for a child care provider to move into Alice Williams. So again, that process is moving forward where if you meet these certain criteria, that you'd be able to use the building.
So is a stipend idea on hold?
I'm not from my perspective, but you know what we want to make sure we do is we're not. I think what we've suffered from before is trying to be a jack of all and master of none. So I can certainly say my focus has been on trying to get those stood up, but not from my side. Again, I'll let Teresa give you specific details, but the stipend's just going to be a little harder to get in the air because of all of the regulations, all where those dollars are coming from, the fact that they're coming from us. So it's been done before in the state of Florida. That's why we like the idea. So we know it can be done, but that's probably a little more complex to be the first thing that we start with. But happy to get you information from
Okay,
Teresa.
I'll meet with her, but just let me a little bit further. As far as the money from the CRA money that the trust has, you're still expecting to get that money to be able to use it to stand up the facilities?
Yes. Okay. Mhm.
Governor DeSantis wants state and local government to control that AI-related data center development. President Trump wants to control everything at the federal level. What's your opinion if a company wants to bring one of those AI data centers to Pensacola or nearby?
Yeah. I mean, my opinion isn't with conviction at this point, but I can tell you the conversations that other mayors have been having is it's the give and take of the power supply and what potential costs that, I mean, that certainly I know at the local level, the big concern is if you were to have one of those centers come in, what's the balance of job creation, quality job creation that would be happening there against the unintended consequence of power supply issues, increases, infrastructure cost increases. And so, like anything, whether it's a job creator at the port or anywhere else in the city, it's our job to evaluate both of those things if there were going to be anything requested at the city level. Now, I'm going to speculate a bit here and say that considering the amount of acreage that would be needed for a data center like that, that would more than likely not be taking place inside the city limits. It would be maybe in the county or in somewhere else in a neighboring county. And we would have to kind of evaluate what our role is in that. But I would think because of the size of our city limit lines and the sheer massive size that a data center would need, that this conversation would probably be more likely to be taking place at the county level than the city level.
Mayor, follow up on Rick's line of questioning about the Children's Trust. I guess there's been kind of multiple years of kind of taxes and then the summit event. Can you just give us just kind of a broad summary of the entire situation with the Children's Trust and what is actually happening?
Yeah, so I'll first say I'm not going to speculate on their letter because I haven't spoken to them yet. So I don't want to try to read between the lines or assess what their request is, which is certainly a new request. I mean, that none of what was in that letter about offsetting what's already been spent inside the city limits has ever been a discussion point on our side. So I want to give them the ability to discuss that with our staff. Other than that, off the cuff, the idea that the CRA dollar should be used for those specific projects because they're taking place in the city, yet the CRA had no discussion about what they would be or when they would be and what they'd be for, is kind of the general idea is that's you're basically saying here's the money for the dance that you've already had. And so I don't know that that's necessarily fair, but again, there's smart people over there that I know we have the same goal, is that we want these dollars deployed to help the children of our community. So if we've got the same goal, hopefully we can get to, a fair resolution. But I feel in this situation, we've tried to be nothing but open and transparent and fair with them about what our goals are and that we want them to align with theirs. So, so certainly, I think the letter and the explanation behind the letter was certainly a curveball for us, and I'll have a probably more robust update once I hear directly from them on what their expectations are, or how they've come up, or if perhaps they feel like there was something that some action we took that was misunderstood or miscommunicated or something like that. So they may have the same type of issue that we're certainly willing to hear out and make sure we're on the same page.
Yeah, and I guess what I'm asking is, can you just give us explain the kind of situation in kind of layman's terms? We don't understand what the CRA is.
Yeah. So ultimately, these are dollars that are not when the trust tax is levied. CRAs are not precluded from getting their portion of that tax. Very similar to DIB, as a matter of fact, the same type of scenario. So ultimately, those dollars are CRA dollars. Period. There and you'd have to spend again. I'm not going to the what and the why behind why those weren't paid at the beginning. The fact of the matter is, those weren't paid in the beginning. And the way I've always seen this is as and I underscore, a collaborative opportunity to work with the trust to say, hey, great, we want these dollars to be invested in children too, but we might have some specific targeted areas, approaches, things like that are specific to the city's priorities and the city's efforts and the CRA's efforts of trying to invest in these CRA areas. So, we certainly that has been our position, and that position has not wavered. We sent a letter saying just requesting the funds with no change in our tack of saying, hey, we're going to try to focus on childcare, and we want it to be things that all would be, even if it were voted on by the trust, that they would all be things that would qualify under the trust, all of those different things, and really be hand in hand in that. And then now we have the request that's in front of you now. So I don't know if that's as layman's terms or not, but these are dollars. These are CRA dollars of which we are trying to work collaboratively with the trust that we can accomplish aligned goals, which is not just those dollars going back to the trust, but those dollars being incorporated and prioritized to specific city and CRA needs. Now we're at the point where we've received this letter. We'll have a conversation with them, and again, I'll know more about where their position is, after Thursday.
Let me just throw this hypothetical out at you.
My favorite. Go ahead.
Yeah. So let's say this is successful, and the city and Children's Trust come to an agreement. You'll get this new program going. Are you worried that once that starts and then the Children's Trust is going to come up for renewal, that will start this new program and that the voters will reject the renewal and then this program will end in a few years?
Yeah, and I think it's our responsibility always to evaluate that. That's a cornerstone of all city finances. Let's use LOST as an example. Well, LOST isn't approved past this next couple of years, so we can't use future revenues against it, all of that. And so as we get closer and closer to our citizens needing to vote on LOST, we certainly would absolutely never speculatively fund something with the presumption that it's going to be passed. And so the trust would be no different. If the trust funding to the CRA was X dollars until X year, then it's our responsibility to budget that way, and it's our responsibility to pick initiatives that way. That is a big factor into Rick's previous question. And we feel like if we can provide facilities, that's a little more open and shut to say, hey, these are facilities that are now provided at $1 a year. Access to childcare has now increased, and it's something that we can maintain well beyond anything that would happen. If you start going into a subsidy funding program, I'm not saying that we wouldn't, but that initiative would be more susceptible to the problem that you're talking about, because we could end up funding it for a couple of years, and the next thing you know, we don't have, for some reason, we don't have that funding anymore, and then that would kind of fall on its face, And so that doesn't mean we aren't going to. It just means those are the types of things that we always prepare for in any type of fund that has, an end of a runway, I guess, and we budget accordingly for all of those different scenarios, whether it be local option sales tax, gas tax, anything like that. We're limited by the end date as it sits today.
Do you think the children's trust should be?
I'll be honest with you, I have not, studied anything outside of the conversation that I'm having with them or evaluated. It'd be unfair for me to say. Here's what I tell you: I think investing in the kids of this community is vitally important, and I'll leave the speculation of what should or shouldn't be to you guys, or whether it's performing or not performing. I just don't. I got a $330 million operation over here. I'm worried about more than I am assessing other people's. But that's not to say that they're doing a bad job or that I don't support the general effort of supporting the youth in our community. So that's what I can say is I'm absolutely supportive of any efforts or initiatives that invest in our kids.
Mayor, can you explain how a permit for boots for Matt Berry covers food not bombs?
Well, first of all, it's not a permit; it's a park rental agreement, and any applicant can have a park rental agreement, and any activity taking place in the park is at the discretion of the person with a park rental agreement. So
boots for Matt Berry is one who determines where the food not bombs can be at the park.
Under a permit, under a park rental agreement while it's operating, while it's closed. So, and again, I think that's the important distinction. What we're discussing is when a park is closed, and what we're simultaneously discussing is thoroughfare versus park, changing hours later. And what I can tell you now is we haven't had any issues there the last couple of weeks. We don't expect that there will be any issues. And my position has been the entire time, we want folks to do what they want to do. And any perception or theory that we are trying to stop anybody from doing what they want to do at the location of which they want to do it is incorrect. We are trying to balance all of these things, including a park that looks a lot like a sidewalk. And so I know we have had conversations already recently with our police department about park hours. Of course, there's other opinions on council about ordinance as a whole, or is that hour correct? So we have been working on the administrative side to come up with a solution. I can tell you our solution is more focused in clarity around park hours. That's what I can say at this moment, but we obviously want to hear out our council members too before we make a quick change of which they don't necessarily agree. So I would say we're kind of in the analysis phase alongside our council members at this moment about what they feel is the best way to handle that situation.
So boots for Matt Berry have the rental agreement for the park, and they can boot food not bombs.
They have a permit through whatever the date that you've seen. The park rental agreement through March, I believe, some date in March. So, you'd have to talk to them. What I can tell you is I certainly don't expect that, because the spirit of the reason the permit or park rental agreement came in the first place was to try to support that effort. So you'd have to talk to the applicant about whether that is their plan to not allow them. I would suspect from our side it isn't, since the indication given to our staff when that came in was to try to be in support of that activity taking place. Anything else?
Mayor, is there any update on the Veterans Memorial Park bathroom? And y'all had any discussions?
We haven't. I'll have to find out when our meeting is, or when our staff's meeting with VMP will be. So if it's taken place in the last 24 hours, I haven't been briefed on it yet. I don't think it has. I think it's upcoming shortly. And again, it's just what our scenarios are with the Delta and, what VMP wants to do. I'm certainly committed to putting something there. And again, that could be a Portland Loo, that, or it could be something in between, or if there's fundraising appetite to make it the full, project, then certainly we would entertain that as well. So it's just a matter of getting that scenario discussion to VMP. So no update from me that's changed from last week, but I know it's on our staff's long priority list. So we'll get them going and engage them as soon as we can.
Florida Power and Lights headquarters is up for the market. Are y'all involved? Have any kind of inkling on what's happening?
The only involvement we have right now is that they notified us. As you know, we've been in a 15-ish year long, maybe not franchise negotiation for that amount of time, but we have had direct conversations with FPL around the request for a franchise agreement. And again, they notified us ahead of time that so we would know that it was going on the market, but we don't have any direct role, right of first refusal, anything having to do with that. I certainly hope that we'll have open conversations. I mean, that's such a big piece, and it's so many hundreds of thousands of square feet. I think a couple 100,000, something to that effect, and it's going to play a big role. Whatever happens there is going to play a key role in what happens in our city. There's no doubt about it. I've got certainly pie in the sky ideas of how the city, the region could collaborate there, but really I think that conversation is going to start with who's a potential buyer looking to pay that amount for that building, and then what do they want to do, and so in my perfect world we would kind of be an indirect seat at the table, so to speak, just to not only know what's going on and what would be going there, but if there was any potential for collaboration or something that could help the community good while that transaction takes place or after that transaction takes place, I certainly would want to have our ears open. So it is a private transaction to potentially a private owner, but I have a sneaking suspicion with that size of property and that size of scale that anybody that's interested in buying that property is going to probably want to have a conversation with us about lots of stuff, from permitting to use to everything else. So looking forward to those conversations. And I think at the end of the day, a more activated building that's full and has people buying lunch and being downtown and living downtown and all those types of things and living in our city would be good.
Is the city interested?
No, not really. There was a day and time where we felt like would it make sense with the rising renovation bills of this building, and maybe it would make sense to consolidate or centralize locations at that building. Again, when I said pie in the sky ideas, that's what I meant. I don't mean we've made any inroads on that, but no, not at this point. We've invested enough and reinvested enough in this building, from council chambers to the room we're in to the $900,000 elevators coming our way here pretty soon, that need to be long overdue to be replaced. But I think so. I think we're good where we're at. But I do hope that it's a good use, a quality use that would happen in the middle of our city, and that it be a job creator, and any way that the city can play an active role in making that a positive outcome, we certainly will. Anything else? Thank you, guys.